Hello everyone, welcome back to Kami Cards. In this video we'll explore the Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis format and analyze a few cards that in my opinion should have lower point values. I'll explain the reasoning behind each pick and how it could improve the overall balance and the overall fun of the Genesis format. We are going to start with Handtraps. This video is also part 1 of 2 of a series where I will discuss not only hand traps, I will discuss also Boardbreaker cards, generic cards that search you stuff, and also engine cards. So stay tuned for the part 2, which I will be dropping in a few days. And if you haven't seen my video on what cards I want to have hit on the points list, so meaning going up on the points list, having higher points, you can watch it. I linked it down in the description. And also guys, I saw that YouTube started showing ads on my channel. And yeah, I'm not a YouTube partner and I cannot get anything from those ads. So it would be really nice if you would consider subscribing so I could just get a goal to be able to be a YouTube partner, so you don't have to just watch those ads and I cannot get anything for those. So yeah, thank you a lot if you want to subscribe, and let's go into it. Overall, I think hand traps are a pretty important part of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And I would actually consider Genesis a pretty modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Format, which is a bit lower in its power level, but yeah, it's modern, and modern decks can do a lot when they are not stopped by hand traps. And yeah, here we come to the overall problem. I think hand traps overall are a bit ranked too high, and maybe some of them should be a bit lower so that decks could consider playing more hand traps, and that makes combo decks not so oppressive anymore. So let's get right into the first hand traps. Yeah, the first one I want to talk about is Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. I don't think this card deserves 7 points. I think this is way too high. This is even not played a lot in the normal TCG, and I would never play this card for 7 points because there are way better options. You could just play Whaler, which is, I think, fine at 7 points. And yeah, I don't think this card deserves 7 points. I would never play it for 7 points, so I think this should be a lot lower so that you have a reason to play this over Valor. And also, this one not being able to stop the normal summon just makes it a worse card at Genesis. So I think I would put this down actually to 2 points, so people would actually consider playing this, because 2 points is like really cheap, and you would play this card then maybe in your main deck to be, or even in a side deck if you want to stop like really strong combo decks. The next card I want to talk about is the Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion. I think Ghost Belle overall is a pretty strong card, so you have to be careful, but it's also a pretty situational card, and Genesis is kind of an open format, and you want to play, if you play hand traps, pretty generic hand traps that hit like everything. Ghost Belle doesn't really do that. It can hit some decks, but not really that hardly. So I don't think 5 points. 5 points is actually pretty low, but I would never play it for 5 points. I would always play like Ghost Ogre or Droll over that because those are way more generic hitting. So I would also think this card needs lower points, because if you play this would probably a side deck card, right? So I think maybe putting it also down to 2 points could help people consider playing that, because I would never play this for 5 points right now. There are also better options, because Skullmeister and the Crow do like similar things and they do not cost any points. So I think Ghost Belle should be a little bit lower, like 2 points could be the sweet spot also with this card. Then the next card is Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Yeah, this card is a floodgate, so it's not that cool to play against, but I think this card costing 3 points is like, why, right? There is no reason to play this card at all, and it could be a bit, it could be a nice side option if you play against a heavy combo deck, right? And yeah, I would just go to 0 points with this card to be able to just side ascend against the combo deck and then have like infinite life points so they cannot easily kill you and then maybe have to interact with you. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't think there's a point at having this at 3 points. So why have it at 3 point? Have it at 0 or have it at 100. If you don't want to have it in the game, just have it at 100 because it's a floodgate, or have it at 0, right? Because the card isn't inherently doing a lot. It just gives you life points, which can be really strong. So I think this could be a nice way to have it as a hand trap that stops like really strong and long combos, because you then gain infinite life points. Infinite Impermanence, I think it's a bit hard to balance here, but I think Whaler is at a pretty good spot with 7 points, right? You could also argue going a bit lower with Effect Whaler, just go to the 5 points maybe, so that that you can make a choice. Do I want to play Whaler, or do I want to play Troll, or do I want to play Ghost Ogre? So I think we could go down with Whaler a bit, so that more decks can play it, because I think Whaler is a pretty good card in this format, because it's really generically usable. And Infinite Impermanence does nearly the same as Whaler, but it can be used going second as a Boardbreaker. This is why I think this is a stronger card, but I don't think it deserves 13 points, right? It deserves a bit more than Whaler. So I would say going Infinite Impermanence, let's say 8 or 7 points, or maybe 10 if you want to have it a higher card. So you have it at a Nibiru and Dominus Impulse and Dominus Spiral level, right? So I think this could also be fine to go for 10 and then go for the Effect Whaler at 5 points. So I think this would be a nice balance to have it either at 7 or 10 points. So you would consider playing this card, but because 13 points to play 13 spend 13 points for the Infinite Impermanence is way too high. There are better cards at 10 points. I would rather play Nibiru then, right, or something like that. So there are better cards to spend 10 points on, or 13 points, I think, or even better cards that are 10 points than the Infinite Impermanent, right? So yeah, I don't think this is deserved at 13 points. Dominus Impulse, though, I think could be deserved at 30 points, but I still have a problem with that, right? The other Dominus cards are both 10 points, and I think there's one even at 0 points. No, the other card, Songs of the Dominator, is at 10, Dominus Spire is at 10, and Dominus Purge is at 10, and Dominus Impulse is at 30. Is Dominus Impulse the strongest of those cards? Yes, definitely. This card is insanely strong. Also in this format, this could be like the strongest thing ever. But I think there is no reason to play this when it's at 30 points, right? Because you could just play all of the other Dominus cards, which is then 9 cards that interrupt you, over playing Dominus Impulse, right? So I think there's not even a consideration at playing this card, and I think this is not a good thing. I think cards should always be placed at a point where you could consider playing them or playing something else, and I think Dominus Impulse is not at a point where you would ever consider playing this. So this should be, I think, a bit lower, maybe 20 points, so that maybe you should consider playing it. But I think it's all right and fair that this card is the strongest or the most expensive at those non-floodgate hand traps, right? At those cards that go 1 for 1. So I think this is fine that this one is the highest card, but I think it shouldn't be at 30. Maybe at 20 would be a good thing. But yeah, please tell me your opinion about that in the comments, because I'm really interested in how you think about Dominus Impulse. Then we go for the most generic and best hand trap, I think, overall, which is Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is at 15 points. I can see why this card is at 15 points, because I think it's damn powerful, right? It's super, super strong. I think this should maybe stay there, because being able to play this card is like a really, really big thing in this format. And then decks that costs a lot less points than other decks could play this card. But yeah, they could also play like then whalers or other hand traps that also do hit stronger. So I think just going down a little bit with this card could be a good thing. Maybe go for the 13 points, not going down for the 10. I think 10 is a bit too less, but maybe 13 or 12 points for Ash Blossom. So it's a bit easier to play, and you could make then the consideration, oh, do I play this or do I play the other thing? Or do I want to play less strong hand traps but more of those, right? So, but I think 15 is a bit too high to make that consideration, because you're at 45 points if you play 3 Ash Blossoms. So yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Or the Maxi hand traps. I think they are kind of ranked fine. Frivolous is at 7, Meowth is at 3, Purulia is at 10, and Maxi is at 50. I think Maxi at 50 is kind of fine. If you want to play 2 Maxi and spend all of your points for it, I think that's alright. That's a trade you can do, but you could play so many other cards, right? So I think this is fine to do that. And I don't have the feeling that you should consider playing Maxi, right? It's not like with Impulse, so I don't think they should go lower on Maxi. I think this is fine where it is. But yeah, the other hand traps, maybe you could have an argument to go a bit down on Purulia, but personally, I think it should cost as much as Frivolous. It's like maybe 7, and I think Meowth is as fine as it is. So maybe go down a bit on Purulia. So Frivolous and Purulia cost both 7, so this could be fine. But we have to take in consideration that those cards highly are side deck cards, right? And you don't really want to have cards in your side deck that cost points. You want to have them in the main deck. But as you see in the normal TCG, those cards could also be main decked. So I think 7 points is actually fine to have for those strong floodgate hand traps. Okay, now something maybe a bit controversial, but let's talk about Bystials now. I think those cards are ranked a bit too high. Yes, those cards are insanely powerful in this format because they interrupt the opponent and also are a body. But, as I said before, you want to spend your points in the main deck. And this is a super open format. And you have to play against a light dark deck that also loses against graveyard interruption, which is not every deck in this format. So I think it's a risk to play Bystials in the main deck. And I don't think it's like the best idea to even do that. And we have Sarnia at 20, Boardbreaker at 30, Druisworm also at 30, Magnamut at 33, and Lubellion at 30, right? There is no reason at all to play those cards because you should side them, and they are way too expensive. You have to play, you have to spend like all of your points on them. So my consideration is go down on them by a lot. I think Sarnia is the weakest one, so maybe place him at 5 points. I think 5 points should be fine for Sarnia, because then you could consider playing him in branded, but I think you still will not play him in branded because you don't have the points. And Sarnia in other decks doesn't provide any value. For the other Bystials, Baldrake and Druisworm, I think Baldrake you could go down for 10 also, and Druisworm go also down for 10. And then you can play them. Yeah, do I want to play Nip in my main deck, or do I want to play Bystial? So I think the answer is pretty clear what you want to do, right? But at least then you have the consideration, right? And maybe in some decks those Bystials are good. For Magnamut, I would honestly stay at 33. This card is broken and shouldn't be lower than 33, but I think Lubellion you could also go down on 10. So Sarnia 5, 10 Baldrake, 10 Druiswarm, 10 Lubellion. This should be totally fine, because I don't think those cards are too strong at 10 points, right? So this is fine. Now for some cards which I wouldn't touch. I think Nibiru is perfectly fine at 10 points. I think Droll is fine at 5 points. I think Ghost Ogre is fine at 5 points. Maybe it could be a bit lower, but I think this card is generically good enough that you could play it in a main deck. So I think 5 points should be fine. And yeah, Skullmaster and Crow, you cannot go lower because yeah, they're at 0. But also Gamma, I wouldn't touch. Also the other Psyframes, I wouldn't touch them at all. Yes, they are only good if you go second, but if you resolve a Gamma on a rogue deck, this is devastating. You negate the effect, also destroy the card. If you go first, negate a Droll or something like that, you get a body. This is ridiculous. So I think Gamma is rightly so at 15 points. So you could have the consideration to play him if you want to have a strong going second hand trap, but if you want to play it, it costs you a lot. So I think this should be fine. Okay, that's it for the hand traps. About Boardbreakers. I think Boardbreakers are in a way better spot than Handtraps in the Genesys format. I also think it's important that there are some strong Boardbreakers that you have available also for 0 points, which there are a lot of strong Boardbreakers for 0 points available in Genesys. Let's say, for example, Sphere Mode or Lava Golem, the Kaijus, Dark Ruler No More is 0 points, Book of Lunar Eclipse is 0 points, Ultimate Slayer 0 points, Swords of Concealing Light. So there are a lot of really good non-board breakers that are 0 points. But maybe you want to play some other board breakers that are stronger than that, then you have to invest points into them. And I think a lot of them are ranked pretty good. For example, I think Droplet or Forbidden Chalice, Droplet is 10 points, Chalice is 5 points, are in a pretty healthy spot. So if you, I also would consider Droplet being twice as good as Chalice. So I think this is fine. Also good going first. So those cards are really good. Also Book of Eclipse is at 5 points. Also super fine. Super Poly, kind of dangerous at 10 points, but I think it's also fine because it's an open format. And as I said before, you want to play your point cards in the main deck. So playing this is a bit of a risk in the main deck. So I think those cards are also all fine. And yeah, let's go to the cards that I would consider being a bit hit too hard. Let's go for the first thing, Dinowrestler Pankratops. I think this card is a really strong card, but it's a going second card that you really don't want to play in the main deck. And yeah, this could be hit because of Dinosaur, but I think Dinosaur has overall enough points, so you don't have to hit Pankratops at all, I think. And let's just make a comparison, right? We have evenly matched at 10 points. Why is Pankratops at 10 points, right? This is not like the same thing. I would play as a going second card evenly 100 times more than Pankratops. I think evenly is way better. So go down for Pankratops. You have a lot of alternatives if you want to spell traps, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister, even Mystical Space Typhoon. So I don't think it's necessary to give Pankratops 10 points. I would say there's an argument for even getting down to 0 points with Pankratops because it's a going second card. You want to side deck it. To spend any points on that is a bit too harsh, I think, right? And yeah, it's a bit better than a Kaiju, but a Kaijus you play to out towers, right? So you would play this in a spot like Cosmic Cyclone or something like that. So I think it's fine to have him at 0 points. I see no problem in having Pankratops at 0 points. It would be a staple in the side deck, but why not? Pankratops is, I think, a healthy card that can equalize the board. If you want to give him points, go for 2 or 3 points, right? But I don't see any reason to have points on Pankratops, right? So yeah, let's go to the next cards. Those are Lightning Storm and Feather Duster. Lightning Storm at 40 points, Feather Duster at 30 points. And also we have Giant Trunade at 40 points. I see no reason why those cards are at 40 points. I think, yeah, they can easily break a board, break a spell and trap board, right? They're strong against spell and trap cards. But you have Evenly at 10 points and you have Heavy Storm at 20 points. So why are those Boardbreakers? I would argue that Evenly is as good as Lightning Storm against the back row overall, right? Overall. So why is Lightning Storm at 40 points? So I see no reason to even consider playing this when I could play Evenly, right? So, or even Heavy Storm, right? Why should I consider playing Harpie's Feather Duster at 30 points when I could just spend 20 points for Heavy Storm? Because it doesn't matter, yeah, when I draw the Heavy Storm in a later turn, it's a bit worse than Feather Duster, but there's no reason that Feather Duster is 10 points higher. And even, I think, Giant Trunade is worse than Feather Duster, and it's 30 points. So go down on those cards. Give them, every one of those cards, give them 20 points. Then maybe, or let's say Feather Duster is a bit better than Heavy Storm, give him 22 points, right? Or give Lightning Storm 25 points or something like that. Go Giant Trunade, let's say 15 points, but because I think it's worse than Heavy Storm because they get all their cards to the hands and they can use it again. So you have a reason to actually play that. And yeah, I don't think those cards should be as high as that because we have Trunade, for example, is at 0 points. Yeah, Trunade is way worse than Giant Trunade because it doesn't out floodgates, but there are not a lot of floodgates or continuous traps in this format anyway. So why is this card so high on there? I see no reason for that. So yeah, go down with those points. I think that's alright. Then for Raigeki, right? Why is Raigeki at 7 points? Right? We have Dark Hole at 3 points. Why should I ever consider Raigeki over Dark Hole when it's 4 points difference? I would always play the Dark Hole. So, and I think it's the same thing. Yeah, okay. When I draw it in a later turn, it's a bit worse, right? But I don't think this is a real reason. You go second, you see this card, you activate it. You usually won't have monsters on your own board, right? And sometimes it's even good if you want to out like a Flying Sea or something like that to have a Dark Hole. So yeah, I see no reasoning why this card is at 7. Just go to 3 points as Dark Hole. Why should there be? Why shouldn't those cards be equal? I think they do nearly the same, right? And yeah, the last card I think that should go down in points is Book of Moon. We have Book of Eclipse at 5 points. We have Book of Lunar Eclipse, which is significantly worse than those two at 0 points. So I think this is fine to be at 0 points. I also think Book of Eclipse is fine at 0 points. But why Book of Moon at 7 points? Yeah, in the normal TCG, you could have the argument to say Book of Eclipse can be ashed, so it's a bit worse. Also, in the end phase, cards get flipped face up, so it's also a bit worse, and the opponent can draw cards. But I don't think the difference is so significant that this card has to be higher. Go down on 5 points for Book of Moon. So you can consider, okay, do I want to have mass removal with Book of Eclipse, or do I want to have like single target removal with Book of Moon? So, or in my opinion, you should even go more down with that card. Go for 3 points. I think this would be even better because of Book of Moon even targets, right? Book of Eclipse doesn't target. I think Book of Eclipse is the superior card than Book of Moon, but this is only my opinion. I think 5 points at least, in my opinion, you could even go down to 3. So there wouldn't be anything wrong in doing that. But yeah, that's it for Boardbreakers. I think they are in an overall pretty good spot and kind of balanced really good. And I think, yeah, other cards could stay like that. I think they are balanced fine. Alright friends, thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be coming out when it's finished. It will be in a few days, I promise, don't worry. And yeah, Then I will talk about the generic cards that, in my opinion, have too many points, and also about the archetypes that have too many points, and give you my opinion on that. And if you want to see this video, maybe also consider subscribing, so I can make the YouTube partnership, and yeah, and then I can also have control over my ads, because right now YouTube just goes for the ads as they want. All right, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next part.